We're going to go ahead and get started. So hello and welcome everyone to our webinar today, which supplements a recent announcement that we, FinSoftAi, made about the launch of our two latest products, SSi Research and our FAANG Dashboard. If you didn't know, this is the last webinar of a three-part series, so thank you very much to all who attended the last two sessions, and if you were unable to attend, they're both available on our website to watch at your leisure. But for today, our format will be a presentation by our CEO and industry leader, Shailendra, and he will walk us through really the key features that make these two new tools a game changer and enable institutions to stay competitive in the evolving landscape of financial markets. Please be sure to utilize the Q&A button on the bottom right-hand side, as we will have a Q&A later at the end of this session, and be on the lookout for a couple of links that we'll be sending your way as well. I'm thrilled to be your host for today, Olivia McLaughlin, and I'd also love to take some time to introduce our expert speaker, Shailendra, who is the CEO of FinSoftAi and a fintech leader with a global footprint. Shailendra has steered technology teams across the globe, leading innovation centers for Bank of New York Mellon in India, spearheading global solution centers at SunGard, which is now FIS, and guiding the global delivery center in Budapest, Hungary for Tata Consultancy Services. Shailendra's deep understanding of AI, machine learning, blockchain, and decentralized finance really positions him as a thought leader, offering unique insights into the fintech-led opportunities emerging on the horizon. So without further ado, let's welcome Shailendra to share his wealth of knowledge and guide us through these exciting two new tools today. Welcome, Shailendra.
Hey, thank you, Olivia, and excited to showcase two of our products. The Social Sentiment Inside Research product, and also our FAANG Sentiment Dashboard. I also have Nitin here, who's our co-founder.
Excellent. Thank you, Shailendra, and welcome Nitin as well. And before we get started with today's session, Shailendra, would you mind giving us a brief overview of FinSoftAi's mission for the audience?
Excellent. Our mission statement is right at the top, and it says, understanding social sentiment to make better and timely business decisions. And let me explain that. What we do is understand a large volume of news in social media with a data quality lens. And why do we use a data quality lens? Because we want to reduce the signal to noise ratio. And given that there's a lot of chatter or unrelevant sort of social media posts. So that's what we do. Why do I say it's better and timely? Let me explain that. Better, as we saw in our last webinar, so strategies based on sentiment, particularly social media news, outperform significantly. We did see strategies giving 40%, not 40x times the index performance. And not only do they outperform, but they are low risk. You could see the beta and the Sharpe ratios in all those strategies. So that's why I think sentiment-based strategies outperform to give you better results. Why is it timely? One, because social sentiment is a leading indicator. And two, oftentimes information in social media is given in advance of becoming official. So that way, what you do is you get access to information early, and that could give you your trading edge. So that's the, our mission statement, which says understanding social sentiment to make better and timely business decisions. Where we are in our journey right now, when I say business decisions, it is primarily financial decisions and specifically decisions relevant to investing and trading.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shailendra. And I have sent a link over to you all to our website. If you haven't checked it out before, feel free to do so after this webinar. But Shailendra, can you also walk us through what the audience should know in terms of FinSoftAi as a technology company versus being in the financial advising space?
Yes, we are purely a technology company and do not give financial advice. So whatever I say during this webinar, whatever I show during the webinar, or what's also on our website, or what our products produce, should not be construed as financial advice and should be used only as information. So that's really the disclaimer I wanted to make before we step into further discussions.
Great. Thank you. Well, let's dive in. And to get started, I'd love if you could really briefly introduce FinSoftAi's product suite. I know that we won't be covering all of the products today, but I think this will be helpful for the audience to understand, a taste of the whole suite either way.
Let me step into our product suite. So we are developing a suite of products that provide social sentiment insights for investing and trading. Each product works standalone, but seamlessly integrates with others in the suite. You can see that there are about 6 of them, and we'll talk about actually first 2 and maybe a little bit of ESG during this seminar or webinar, and we'll unveil the rest in the coming near future. But the importance here is that institutional customers can pick and choose what they want based on their growing social trading requirements, because all of these sort of compose on top of each other, but people can gradually bite what they want based on where they are in their journey. So that's what I wanted to share about the suite of products. How does it work? If you look, we mine a lot of qualitative and quantitative inputs. So when I say qualitative, obviously all of news and social media is qualitative. For ESG, we take a few more interesting sources like Comparably, Glassdoor, Ferrygot, Boss, etc. We also try to mine search trends, but then technical indicators are also within the ambit. So we source in all sorts of technical indicators, but then the technical indicators, while they work on price and trading volume, can also be combined to work on sentiment and then social buzz, which is, trading volumes can be substituted by social buzz, or the chatter or the volume of news or posts that you have in, let's say, Reddit or StockTwits, etc. So you can do that and get early indications on technical indicators. So all of this is the input. It goes to our FinSoftAi engine, which is our core ML processing. It reads all of this and enriches the documents to find sentiments, what are the trending keywords, what are the named entities, etc., and puts all of this into an operational data store on which our front-end apps, which is what we'll show you today, use that to give you interesting visualizations that give you the signals for your trading or investing needs. So that's a quick summary of how it works. And what are the customer segments? So the customer segments are institutional, across boutique research, broker dealers, financial news portals, investment banks, asset managers, and fintechs, and across a plethora of roles, like I mentioned, ranging from research analysts, investment managers or advisors, portfolio managers, ESG analysts, and of course, risk managers and traders. So that's kind of where we position our product.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Shailendra, and excited to dive into 2 of those products today. I believe the first one we're going to have you cover is really the base product, the FAANG Dashboard. Could you explain for the audience why FAANG is important, and then in turn why the FAANG Sentiment Dashboard will be important in the financial space ahead?
Okay, I think everybody knows what FAANG is, but FAANG stands for, of course, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. And of course, names have changed. Facebook is Meta, Google is Alphabet. And also, I think in today's world is the Magnificent Seven. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but this FAANG is what we are doing today. The reason it is important is that if you take the FAANG dashboard, the market cap for all the FAANG stocks put together exceeds 7 trillion conservatively. It's higher than 7 trillion. So that's a big number. It is like the 3rd largest economy in the world. And it constitutes 30% of NASDAQ 100 and 15% of S&P 500 market cap. So I think in some sense, there are changes to FAANG sort of disturb the whole market. So in some sense, they mirror the market quite largely, not mirror, but they can change the market. So sorry, I used the wrong word. It's not mirroring, but they can change or shake the market when things happen. They're highly liquid. And most importantly, they have outperformed over the last 5 years and continue to do so. So that's why the FAANG stocks are so important. Why is the FAANG Sentiment Dashboard unique? Uh, it is unique because sentiment is a leading indicator, number one. And what we do is, if you see the FAANG Sentiment Dashboard, it's a very simple application which gives you sentiment before the market opens. And after the market closes and before the market opens next day, sentiment is a proxy for the price. So it gives you, during the off market hours, you can really see how the sentiment is moving. It also gives you alerts. It'll tell you, whether there's momentum in the sentiment or there's an overnight change in the sentiment. So it gives you alerts that you can use to place your trades before the market opens. And that gives you the edge with your trading or investing decisions. And we'll see that as we look at the demo. So that's the answer to your sort of question, Olivia.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Well, I'd love to have you really dive into a quick demo of the FAANG dashboard, if you don't mind.
Yes, super. So this is I'll just show you, this is our FAANG Sentiment Dashboard. And if you look, it has broadly, at the top is some informational content for new users who really don't understand what is FAANG, but I guess most people know that. The meat is actually the 4 dashboards, the alerts, and the word cloud at the center. And that's where we'll spend most of our time. At the bottom are some use cases that you can download. And this will help you look at use cases from the past, which we have used. And that shows very clearly that how you can make better investment and trading decisions using this dashboard. So I think that's it's a good starting material for you to download those, the case studies that are there at the bottom of the screen, or the use cases, to help you learn functionally how the dashboard can be used. We also have on our website the complete feature list, and some features are not here because this is the free version, but some features come in our sort of upgrade versions too. So I'd encourage you to go and look at the feature list on our homepage. So let me explain the dashboard. So at the core is 4 sort of bar charts. They tell you, the first one shows, what's the social buzz today compared with the average for 7 days, 14 days, and 30 days. So you can sort of slice and dice. So how much is the chatter in social media or news around these stocks? Second is, what's the actual sentiment for 1 day? What's the average over 7 days? What's the average over 14 days and 30 days? So you can sort of, toggle and see different views. And the next 2 dashboards are very similar, but give you some interesting insights. This is today's dashboard. So you can see that what's the change in social buzz over today compared with 7 days, 14 days, 30 days. You can slice and dice. And then what's the change also in sentiment? So that's really the 4 dashboards. And then at the bottom is what's behind this sentiment. So that's the word cloud, which tells you, what are the top keywords in the news or social media that are making the rounds today? What are the top, persons that are speaking about, the company today? Oftentimes it's the CEO of the company, etc. But many times you see a interesting influencer making some statements. So that's really what's behind the sentiment, is what the word cloud gives you. Now, I think the most interesting part is the alerts. So let's take today's alerts. So today's alerts are very interesting. This is as of today. Market's already started. The alerts come 1 hour before the market opens. So it's a prediction today that, if you look, there are 2 kinds of alerts that we see. Momentum alerts. I'll explain what momentum alerts is. It's showing that Google, Apple have a strong sell as per as momentum. You can see the color of momentum is different from the color of the pre-market or the overnight change in sentiment alert. So why do I say Google has a negative momentum? So if I go here and click on Google, so if I click here, it's an interesting feature. It shows me how Google sentiment has fared over 30 days, 14 days, 7 day, and today. So I'll click here, and you can see that the sentiment is showing a gradual decline. So that means Google sentiment is going, uh, you know, is lowering over the last 1 month gradually. So that's why the momentum is sell, or a strong sell is what we're saying, because all four are trending one lower than the other. Similarly, you can do it for, if I go back and click anywhere, it goes back to the same view that I had. If I want to see it for Apple, I can also see that Apple has a strong sell on the momentum. And when I look at Apple, I click the same way, you will see again, Apple has also a negative trend as far as the whole stock is concerned. But what it's showing is that today most of the signals are sell. And if I go back and show you from the slides, market opening today, everything has gone lower. Apple has gone, I think at market opening, 3% lower. Google has dropped 1%, and Meta has also dropped near about 1%. So all of these signals are showing great efficacy. It's also got a very interesting AI feature. So, for example, I can chat with these dashboards. So if I go and open my chat bot, I can really ask questions. So let's ask a couple, because we don't have too much time. But you can, instead of visually looking at it, you can ask questions on the go. And in fact, we've got a whisper interface that you can even chat with it. So let's go and run a couple of questions. So let's say, who coined the term FAANG stocks? So this is outside our dashboard, but it's got general intelligence. So it says answer from Chat GPT's knowledge base, and it says Jim Cramer. So, and it tells you what FAANG is. So that's interesting. Then I'll give you another question. So there are some recommended questions, and you can run those every day. So user can sort of keep his 5 stock questions every day, so that he doesn't have to do anything. They can all come fired up. But let's take a simple question like, what's the new sentiment for Google today, and do that one, or anything else we can. But I'm just taking, the reason we have this list is that anyone can create their own list and use that, so that they don't have to type their questions every day. They know what they want on these 5 stocks. They make their list of questions, and boom, it fires every day. And you can get the answers not looking at it, but if you're in your car, you can sort of look at your phone and get the answers textually, or also through the voice interface. So I gave this question, and you'll see it gives an answer. So this time it says the answer is from the FAANG dashboard, because it gives you 2 digits. So that's really how you can look at the FAANG dashboard. So back to you, Olivia, and we can sort of continue with the research product now.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Shailendra. And we'll have more exciting news towards the end of today's webinar on how you can all access this FAANG dashboard right away. But we'd love to dive right into the next product, which really has more layers, our SSi Research product. And Shailendra, it'd be great if you could, also explain the why behind this product, and then really show us the key features that make this tool so impactful.
Before I do that, I wanted to show the slide which shows that our signals are correct. So you can see that all of our signals were correct today, and every stock that had a strong sell has actually dropped at market opening. So you can see, for example, all of them, if the circled entities are what was the previous close and what's the market opening, and you can see that they're all trending lower. So the efficacy of our signals is good today, and oftentimes it is 90% of the time it does do very well. Certain times, sentiment has to be corroborated with other indicators to give you 100% efficacy. So now let me tell you what is SSi Research and why do I call it research. The reason I call it research is, in our last webinar, we spoke about several sentiment-based strategies and how they outperformed. So SSi Research has data for us to do all sorts of back testing on sentiment strategies. So you can test your strategies using this data and then deploy them into real production. So that's number one. Number two is it can be used for investing and trading. I mean, orders have to be placed in a separate order management system, but it can be used for investing and trading, but not for intraday sort of trades. So it's not meant, it doesn't have real time. What it has is it has periodically the news and social media is refreshed, but it's not real time. But you can place trades based on the sentiment or price over the last few months, yesterday, overnight signals, etc. So that's really why it is there. How does it work? I told you it is not real time, but there is a periodic refresh of news and social media to get the latest sentiment. That's number one. Number two is it's different from FAANG because it has a bigger coverage of stocks. So it's not limited to 5 stocks. It's got a large number of stocks. And it's not limited to a simple dashboard. So the FAANG dashboard had sentiment, which was overall sentiment. So every news item, every social media post that we have within our system, whatever we are mining, all of them are sort of taken together and you get the average sentiment for all. Correct? What I showed you there in the FAANG charts. Here what we have is we have all those dashboards, but I can go and slice and dice and get sentiment for a specific event, which could be financial or non-financial. And that means I can get very specific sentiment on certain news items that are making the news today and are moving the stock. So that's really what the big difference is, a larger coverage of stocks, and you can drill down and analyze a sentiment for specific financial and non-financial events. And you can see all of this in a very interesting graphical format whereby we superimpose sentiment with price. So that's really how this product works. And I'll now show you how it works. So let me step in to give you a demo of that. So how does it work? It's a very simple. So this has got nothing in it right now, but I wanted to use this to explain. So if you look, it's very similar in some sense to FAANG. All those dashboards also come up. If I click, you'll see the dashboards. I'll show you the dashboards too. But beyond that, what I wanted to explain to you is that you can give an input query. So there are a bunch of queries which you can create. Some are kept in the system. So I can take a query, select a query for a particular stock, and that becomes the input query. I can then say, so the input query is select a ticker, a start date, and end date, and then you can have a query, and I'll show you a query. And then you can run that query to get 4 different outputs. And I'll show you those 4 different outputs by actually taking some queries and running them. And those queries would correlate to what I mentioned in my last webinar, because so one of the strategies was to trade based on financial results. So if I take a recent financial result for, let's say, Meta. So Meta announced their financial results in February, early February. Actually on 1st February after market closing. So they announced their result after market closing, and this was a blowout result for them. And the reason was that they had a 25% year-on-year increase in revenue, number one. Number two is they also had declared a dividend of 50 cents. And most important, they announced an intention to buy back $50 billion they kept aside for a buyback scheme. So obviously the results were seen as stupendous, but then how do I look at this in hindsight to make my decision? So I ran a query here. I'm looking at sentiment now for Meta for 1st February and 2nd February, because that's really when 1st February end of days when they announced the results, and what happened on 2nd, and how could you have seen this signal early? So what I'm doing is, if you look here, everything machine learning finds what are the trending keywords, trending persons, trending companies for Meta during the selected period. So what I've done is, if you click here, you can see lots of things, but I've already created a query. So what I'm going to run is, how does the sentiment for this financial results or the fourth quarter results, or which was the annual results, what's the sentiment that it creates? So if I run this query, you will see that it's running now. And you'll see the sentiment moving. So this is the heat map. So this is the color coded. So obviously it's in the buy zone. And what this is a composite sentiment. The first output is a composite sentiment, which works on equal weightage for news, social media, but you can go and change the weightage. There's a set weights there. So you can go and change the weightage based on what you think should be the right combination. Okay, so that's the human judgment that you use. Then there is source-wise sentiment. So that's like across 5 different zones. So for example, news is 67% of news is showing a strong buy. I think there's a weak buy for another 11%. And then of course there is some sell, and some items are negative, but largely if you see, news is positive, same is with Reddit and others. But the most important view is the temporal view here. So this is the price versus the sentiment. And before I show you what it is, you can see that so this is a query between the 1st and 2nd of February. And the news came post-market on the 1st. So you can see that everything is positive here, and you can actually see all the news items. You can click on them. I can go to a URL and click on it. I'll show you in some case how to do that. And then you can see that at market opening, clearly the sentiment shot up, and the price for Meta actually went up by $80 in that particular trading day. So you can see that very nicely. There are some small negatives, but most of the negatives also come with smaller dips, as you can see, or on a downward curve. So you can use even the negatives for some small, kind of intraday trading if you want to do that. But the biggest thing here is that before the market opened, everything was positive, and you could have placed a bet knowing that what's really going to happen even before, or you could have done it in your pre-market trading. So before the market opens, you could have traded using this signal. So that's really what I wanted to show here. And you can see that, largely all the news items were positive. All the tweets or Reddit posts were also largely positive. You can download these news and posts into an Excel file or a PDF file, which is pretty interesting. So you can download it so that you can do all your analysis as a research analyst. Everything is under one window. So you can see technicals, you can see the news items, you can see Reddit posts, you can see StockTwit posts. So all of that you can download and analyze separately, if you really want to do some deep down analysis before making your trading or investing decisions. So this is an example of a query, which is a financial query on a, earnings news. And like I said the last time, you could run strategies that look at the sentiment before the results and go long or short based on what you are seeing. And if you repeat this regularly, you can get a 40x outperformance over the index. So that's mirroring what I said during my last call. Let's go to another example, which is a non-financial event. This could be interesting because these are events that happen often, but you can't predict a priori when it will happen. So for example, Tesla car crashes are pretty common, but and every time you do notice that when a Tesla car crashes, the market sort of gives it a negative momentum, and price falls because the sentiment is falling also significantly, and negative news always is more highlighted. So here is one which happened for the Cybertruck, and this happened in late December, just before the closure of the year in California, in Mountain View. So you are not Mountain View, in Redwood City. And what you can see is I've created a query, and it's very easy to create these queries because all the important keywords or persons or companies that are within the start and end date for, let's say, Tesla between 28th December and 30th December really are shown automatically in the trending items if I highlight, because that's what my machine learning does. Okay, So what we did was created this query, and then I wanted to show you how you can trade based on this query, or how you can use orders, or how you can use this to predict what might happen when future similar events for Tesla do occur. So let me try and run this query for this Cybertruck, okay, crash. And what I'm doing is running this query now, and you will see again the 4 outputs, and they'll be negative, of course. So you can see that it's the composite sentiment is in the sell zone. If you go to the source-wise sentiments, again, you can see everything is red, strong sell here, strong sell in Reddit. You can see that. And as you go down, you can also see that most of the news items are negative. Most of the Reddit posts are negative. And you can see that the stock price and the sentiment are correlating pretty well here. Most of the news is negative. Now, here is another feature that I want to showcase to you. I did mention that one important feature that we are using is a data quality lens. And what I mean by data quality lens is there's a lot of noise, particularly more so in social media, but also in news, because news can be delayed. There are various factors that, you want to highlight the news that is most important. When I say news or social media. So highlight or, sort of boost the news or social media posts that are most important, and filter out or attenuate the ones that are not relevant. I mean, if I tweet, for example, I'm not an entity that moves the market, then my tweet should have a much lower, weightage, or can be filtered out compared to tweets by people who are influencers or analysts who are well respected in the market, correct? So how do I do that? So I have a feature called data quality. I'll show you how that works. So it works on essentially 3 parameters to show you. There are more. I'm not going to show you all of it. It looks at the credibility of the person who is writing the news item or the social media. Let's say in this case it's stock tweet, so it's a tweet. And when I say credibility, so it means that how many followers does that person have? Does he or she have a significant influence on the market compared to others? Is that person a paid user? How long has he been, a user on stock tweets? Is he subscribing to some premium rooms? So how active is he? So a lot of the user data that we see decides the weight for the credibility of the user or the news source. I'll show you that also. And the other parameter we really look at is the usefulness of the content of the tweet or the news item. So first is the author, and second is the usefulness of the content of the tweet or the news. And what that means is, if the tweet or news item resonates with a larger section of the audience, so if that tweet has got a large number of likes, for example, then I think clearly that needs to be boosted. So we do some of those things, how many likes does it have, etc., to find out. Similarly, for news, we have interesting things. So the news items that are financial or more well respected, for example, if I take Bloomberg, you'll see that it has a weight of 1, whereas some of the others have lower weights because they might be credible, but they are not in the financial news space. They might be more general news or technology news, or some of them might be English news, but they're not in the US geography, because all our stocks in our bucket are top US stocks. So that's how we do the data quality. I'll show you how it really works. So if I run the same query by turning on data quality, so there's a DQ and non-DQ here, it asks me to rerun the query. And now what it'll do is it'll take news and tweets that are most important and only highlight them and show you the sentiment for that. So let me run this again. So if I run this again now, and you will see that this is even more negative. So in general, the mainstream media is highlighting a crash of the Cybertruck much more than media that is not so mainstream in the financial world. Or even the posts of influencers within stock tweets when I say influencers, people who have a large following seem to give this bigger negative sentiment than the others. So that's how data quality works. I'll show you one last query, which is around the ESG space. So let me go there and show you that. So as all of you know, ESG stands for impact investing, or stocks that are creating a better future for all of us, because they are doing good for the environment, they're doing good for on sort of social with the communities and their employees, and the entire ecosystem around them, and they also have very strong governance practices. So that's what ESG stands for. And ESG as an opportunity today is large. Expected that ESG investing will be about 50 trillion in assets under management. So that you can see the impact. Almost, a third of the world's investing will be in ESG. But the biggest challenge with ESG is there are no standards for ESG. So there's no regulation, there are no reporting standards. So companies can decide to report what they think is good for them and maybe hide what is not so good. So one way is to look at social sentiment or sentiment in the public domain around news and tweets to find out, what are the ESG scores. So a sentiment could be a proxy for the ESG score as long as you're looking at items that are representative of E, S, or G. So in this case, I'll show you a simple query for Microsoft, and it's an older query because this is how we kind of look at sentiment for a quarter and say this is the ESG sentiment or the ESG score for Microsoft. So what we do is look at all items for Microsoft that meet a certain glossary of terms that are relevant to what we call S or social. So for example, child labor. Are there tweets or news items that talk about child labor in Microsoft? Gender diversity, equal opportunity employer, human rights, working conditions, etc. So this is how I can create an ESG query. In fact, if I show you, I can create a rule here and go down and show you that I can add other things here. So you can see that I can look at creating social, governance, environment. So let's say if I click on environment, I'll see a bunch of things that I can select: carbon, climate change, carbon footprint, biofuels, etc. So this is how I can create an ESG query. Let's take it for social, but I wanted to show you that you can create what I have done for social similarly for environment and governance, and a combined ESG score also. So if I run this now, and you will see it's running now, although I think this was already run, but it's running, and you can see that the score is very good. I mean, Microsoft has scored well on ESG. So that's how I can do my ESG queries. So with this, you saw that the product supports a number of stocks. So I can show you there's a huge list of stocks that we support. And it has data which is historical. So in some sense, you can use the old data to model and backtest your queries. But you can also use the queries and the dashboards that come along with it to make your investing and trading decisions. So that's really what I wanted to show. Another nice cool feature that we have here is customizing your screens. So if you go here, you can customize what outputs you want and what outputs you don't want, because oftentimes when you have 4 different outputs, based on your style, you might say, I only want, let's say, the heat map composite sentiment, or I only want the sentiment which is giving me the source-wise sentiment as what we call the aggregated sentiment per source, or most importantly, I only want, let's say, the sentiment charts versus price. So I can set up my UI in some way that meets my specific needs in terms of what outputs I want to mine and take forward. So that's another feature here. All of our products have a take a tour functionality, which allows you to quickly understand. It's a full online help. It's pretty intuitive. So it shows you how to use the product. So this is really where I wanted to end my show and tell and go back to Olivia.
Thank you so much, Shailendra. And we'll have more information for you all again towards the end of the webinar on how you can see more and how you can access SSi Research as well. In the last few minutes here before our Q&A section, I have a couple more questions for you, Shailendra. One is, could you help the audience really understand what differentiates these two products from everything else that's being created and thrown out there today?
Yes. So it's our technology edge. I think the biggest advantage we have is that our backend pipeline, which is a workhorse in some sense, but this is the product that reads the news, the tweets, the blogs, enriches it and puts it into an operational data source. So it's very easy for us to add a new data source. So let's say, and I'll show you in the roadmap, we have a lot more new social media apps that we're supporting now or working on supporting. So it's easy for us to quickly add a new data source, be it public, another social media, for example, Threads just announced today that developers will get their API in June. So come June, I think we should be very quickly onboarding Threads. But it can also support private data, which is internal to the customer. So it could be email conversations or analyst reports that are private to the institution that is using our product. So that's number one. The other big one is our ML performance. So we outperform the market in terms of how we do with sentiment and NLU in general, whether it is keyword extraction, topic modeling, or named entity recognition. So we benchmarked with several financial ML models, and we consistently outperform by over 60%. I think API interfaces are great. So we can integrate with, let's say, a back office to expose portfolios so that we can get sentiment for your portfolios, or people can use our operational data store and integrate with their own front end. So our API is another strong feature. And most importantly is that we also have a very good visualization, because oftentimes you have sentiment, but we overlay sentiment on price. As you saw, one of the outputs is sentiment annotations on price. And what that does is it gives you a very strong way to look at it and see whether it correlates. Oftentimes, particularly in impact investing, it's a big challenge that everything looks good, that this company is doing great in terms of doing the right things, but in terms of an ROI for an impact investor, it doesn't work too well. So I think overlaying the sentiment or superimposing the sentiment on price charts is an extremely important feature. I didn't show you, we've got some complicated, not complicated, some great tools for research analysts. So we have a correlation tool that allows you to find stocks that correlate best with sentiment and put them into your portfolio. And that's really our edge as you look at all this.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Shailendra. And lastly, what else is coming for FinSoftAi? Could you share a bit about anything exciting on the near-term roadmap and really what else is next?
Yes. So like I said, one of our strongest points is the ability to support a new data source quickly. And we're working on, currently we look at ESG sentiment based on public feeds. That means, let's say Reddit or stock tweets or news items. But I can take private ESG feeds. There are lots of ESG feed providers that we're working with to get more ESG data into our system. We're also working on integrating other social media apps like Blue Sky and Mastodon. So they have got their APIs published, and we're already working on getting them live on our system. We're almost done with getting Edgar into the Edgar reports for more sort of fundamental analysis, but we do sentiment on the management discussion section. So a lot of initial work that is going on the data side is around qualitative feeds, improving the qualitative feeds, but we're also trying to put in some quantitative sentiment indicators. We want to increase the coverage of supported stocks. It's pretty large, but we want to have a larger coverage of stocks. But of course, stocks that are have some noise. Otherwise, our ML models would not be relevant. So we restrict it to normally the S&P top, S&P 100, 150 stocks is what we'll go to, correct? And of course, the bigger focus is we want to soon come out with our SSi Trader product that will produce or that will do real-time processing, and will also support, that means intraday trading. So that means you can trade on signals, sentiment swings within the day, and take your sort of real-time trading decisions using that. And Gen AI in a big sense, we leveraging Gen AI in a big sense. So, for example, what we're doing right now, it's already almost done, is data quality, which is where we filter noise. The rules that you saw there, you could see that some weights were assigned. And when we started, the weights were static. But now we have ML models that kind of fine tune these initial weights for the credibility of the author or the usefulness of the tweet, etc. So that's what we have in our near-term roadmap for this year.
Thank you, Shailendra. For our sort of summary and key takeaway section today, I'd like you to really share how our audience can access these two products, and we'll be able to follow up with this news via email later today as well.
Super. First, before I wanted to share two quotes that resonate very well with all what we have said in our 3-part webinar series. So what I'm saying is investing is not just about numbers, it's about understanding the sentiment driving those numbers. So take that, as a key message. And then the second message is getting even more relevant in the context of AI today, because AI is everywhere. But emotions and sentiment are essential to human intelligence. And then without emotional intelligence, artificial intelligence will remain incomplete. So what we are doing here is combining AI with sentiment analysis to give you a more holistic view of what the world is speaking about certain companies, and how what is being said could impact their price, and that's how you select your trading or investing decisions. So that's really one of the things I wanted to mention here. But in closing, I would like to say that what we want to do now is to offer anybody who's interested in our FAANG dashboard, including the alerts that I showed you, the FAANG bot that we have, which I couldn't show you in a lot more detail. We also have things like you can see off-market sentiment and within market sentiment, etc. So we want to offer that to users as a trial for a 14-day free period. So anybody who's interested should reach out to us contact us at FinSoftAi.com, and then we can work out how we can offer that to you free. In terms of research, if you or the institutions you own or work for are really interested, I think we should have a conversation, and I'm sure we can work out how we can make that available to the right folks. So that's the message I wanted to leave, that we are here for prime time. We want you to try and use our products. Feedback from you all is extremely important, and you can expect to see a lot more coming from us.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Shailendra, for your time today. Really exciting news for FinSoftAi and the whole team, and really looking forward to some of the folks on the webinar today to have access to it. So thank you very much. Let's hop into Q&A now. We have a few questions that came in from the audience already, but if you do have more questions, feel free to post them now. The first question that came in was, can SSi Research give you sentiment for a new product, and does it correlate well?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Let me try and show you something that, so what the question says is that, can you use SSi Research to get sentiment for a new product launch? And how does that correlate with the stock price? So I have a query here, which is for the NVIDIA chipset that was launched, the RTX chipset, which are the new sort of GPUs that they launched in early January, and which hit the market. And you can see how, so I'm taking that query. Let me run that query now. It's coming up. So you can see the query here, and it was launched in early January. And, all the trending keywords that I'm looking there is like RTX, GeForce RTX. The chipset is used extensively by AI folks and gamers. So that's also what I'm looking for. And if I run this query now, you can see what happens. So you'll see the sentiment changing, and it's positive. So you can see that, and then you can see also that how it correlates. You can see a lot of positive correlation here. So the stock price went up. All the annotations are positive. You can actually look that every news item here, or lots of the news items here, are positive. And you can see dips on news items, if at all news and the dips are oftentimes where the price is going down. For example, if you see here, you can see NN here, but then you can see that there's also a dip in price. So there's a strong correlation between price and sentiment. And overall, you can see here that the new product launch was seen very well, and the stock price moved in correlation to the actual sentiment. And if I go down, you'll also see that the number of documents that you see, news was largely positive. About 1150 out of 1450 were positive, and even in tweets, a large majority were positive. So very well seen, and you can see that the stock price and the sentiment correlate extremely well. One feature that you can see here is I can actually go here and click on something, and it opens that in a new window. So if I see a news item, I can go and click on it. So I just clicked on a random news item, and it'll open here in a new window. So that's really how the product allows you to even look at news items within the screen and take your trading decisions accordingly. So that answers your question, Olivia.
Thank you, Shailendra. The next question that came through was, how does your engine ensure the source data is trusted, both fake data as well as that generated and amplified by bots?
Very interesting question. Like I said, we have a data quality lens. So what we do is, for example, if you're talking about bots, we have filters. The way we discern bots is if you see a handle, let's say it's a tweet, stock tweets, or if you see a Reddit, name that is a handle, let's call it a handle for simple things. What we see is that if that handle is producing a large number of tweets in a day, or is liking a large number of tweets in a day, or is following a huge number of people in a day, then we flag that as a bot. So that's very easy for us to flag bots. And we can, like I said, it's up to you. Sometimes people want, if you're a trader, you might want to look at, because fake news also moves the market. So it's up to you whether you want to turn on this bot feature or not turn it on. So that's how we kind of handle the trading bot and the fake news. In a very similar way, we can also handle fake news. But fake news, we also use third-party engines to look at fake news.
Great. Thanks so much, Shailendra. I think we have time for just one more question, which is it possible to integrate SSi Research with other third-party or in-house, both front office and back office solutions?
Extremely important question. I think I did answer this a little bit, but it's important to integrate. Oftentimes our customers will say, I want a headless solution. So I want all your sentiment data and signals, but I want to superimpose it on my own front ends. So we have APIs that give you all this data, and the customer can then use the APIs and then use it on their own UIs or on their own visual screens that they have. So it's possible through APIs. The other big feature is with the back office, which is even more interesting. For example, if there's a large back office system that holds several portfolios, then every day the portfolio can be enhanced. If I have access using my APIs to the portfolio, then I can enhance the portfolio to show what's the overall sentiment for the portfolio. What's it trending? what is it? How does the portfolio look in terms of sentiment for the last 1 week, 14 days, 30 days, etc.? So there is, we have a strong set of APIs that can help us integrate both with customers who want to use their own front end or customers who want to expose their portfolios to us and use our sort of tool to enhance their what reports they give to their customers.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Shailendra. Again, thanks so much for taking the time today to show us many of the key features that make these two new products so exciting for the financial landscape. And again, thank you, registrants, for attending today. We'll be sure to follow up with an email later today on more information about accessing the FAANG dashboard. But if you have any more questions or would like to book a demo for either one of these products, feel free to reach out to us at contact@FinSoftAi.com. And really looking forward to staying in touch. Thanks so much, everybody, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you all for attending, and do contact us if you want to know more. Thanks again.